With the advent of AI, open source is so easy to contribute to nowadays. I mean, literally, you can just bring things up and prompt the AI in Visual Basic Code or in your pull request, and it will help you code through that, problem solve through that, code it up for you right in the software. It's really come a long way since since some videos I made in 2018, kind of going through how to interact with open source projects, create your GitHub accounts, do pull requests, do forks, and all that stuff. It's just so much easier now. It's unreal. So in today's video, I'm going to show you some of those amazing new enhancements because we've really come a long way since 2018 and now in 2026. So let's get into it. So I would say there's three major enhancements, and there's some sub enhancements under those three major categories that really make it a lot easier today than it was just 6 or 7 years ago. Starting with the biggest thing that's really the most powerful tool is right over here, Visual Basic Studio Code. Visual Basic Studio Code is the code editing software that you would use to contribute to edit code, author code, and then you can even use that to contribute it up to the Betaflight or any other project repository for a pull request. And a pull request is, hey, I've copied the code, I did a thing, here's the changes to the code, and I'd like you to consider it to be brought into the software. So you can see it behind me. You can see you can get it here for Apple. You can see it's for Windows, and behind me is Linux. If you're a Linux user, you probably already know about Visual Basic Studio Code. But what is truly amazing about Visual Studio Code is right here. There's a built-in AI engine that you can prompt for what you want to do, troubleshooting of the code this is the entire project that you see over here behind me. This is the Betaflight configurator project. I obviously download Visual Basic Studio Code on your PC. You install it just like any other program you do. You get the Betaflight code downloaded on your computer, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second of tool you can use that. And then you can see the entire code base right here for the entire configurator. And you can do that for Betaflight firmware. You can do that for iNav firmware. You can do that for the iNav configurator, so on and so forth. But right over here is the big power, because instead of coding stuff up, which, if you know how to code, obviously it's a no-brainer. You know all about this stuff, but you can just be somewhat familiar with how to code as long as you can have half a brain and can notice some patterns and some things. You can use this AI engine over here to prompt directly in the code, and it's even more powerful than that. It's not like you're working with ChatGPT and then you're asking it some things and then copy and paste it. It will just do it for you, edit the code directly, and then you can say keep or undo. So let me show you. So in this example, I'm on the adjustments page, and in the adjustments page, there's actually two more things you can do with adjustments. So, this is a page where you can say, hey, when this aux is on this certain range, adjust the pitch, P, roll, or all kinds of stuff. And I'm actually adding some code so you can actually start to move the sliders around for the PIDs real time in flight. Nevertheless, and then you use this to say, hey, which aux you're going to do that with. But there's actually two more things that are available in adjustments that you can use. And if you go into the CLI and type adjust range, you can see those two variables right here. It's kind of at the end. So this is the which one. This is the range, this is the aux switch, this is the function, so that's, and then this is the aux switch I'm going to use to adjust. But there's an adjustment center and an adjustment scale. They're not in the adjustments tab, and in this example we're going to add those two into the adjustments tab. The two things to actually just edit these here. Otherwise, right now you have to go into the CLI to edit these, which is kind of weird. And why aren't they just available right in the adjustments tab? So what we want to do is we want to add those onto the end over here, like make two more columns and add those in. So once I have the project open, so it's literally go to open folder and go browse to the folder where you have the project open, which I have it right here on my computer. Then you can see this is what it looks like when you open the project, and then I have a file here open. I guess it would look like this initially until you double click a file, and then the file that opens shows up here. But nevertheless, you just have this here, and you'd say, I would like to add two additional columns to the adjustments tab to display, and can edit and save the adjustments range and the adjustments center scale values. Now you might say, that's great. How do you even know about those variables? It's like, well, it's right here in the Betaflight help. You have the center value and the scale value here. And then it gives you little examples of how that works down here, so on and so forth. So seeing that in action, you can see once we enter that prompt, she goes to work. and it's going to start looking through the code and seeing what it needs to do. And you can even see here it's asking me a range. So I'm going to say 0 to 255. And I know why it's asking that. It's asking because it has to initialize the variables and give them a 8-bit or 16-bit or higher value. So 0 to 255 should be fine. Use 0 to initialize, and we're going to do a number inputs. So here it went through and outlined what it needs to do, or what I need to do this, or to get started with it. And you can see, and from here you can just follow the step-by-step instructions. Or at the bottom, it said, would you like me to implement this change directly in the files? Help you with the MSP protocols? Yes, please help. Please implement and help with MSP. Okay, so after it's done implementing, you can click on this little thing down here, and you can actually see where it's changed. So I can click on the file itself, and it will open up and has all kinds of little sound effects it does here as well. And you can see what it added for the code. You can see in here. And you know, there's some stuff in here where there's some common sense, right? You can see it added to a section. You can see other things like adjustment column enabled, adjustment column channel, the range, and then the function. Then it added 2 things that's basically the same exact code. It just has these 2 additional variable names underneath it. Seems about right to me. And then you can, in this one, it actually put it in between. So it's not appending at the end, it's appending before it, but I could actually move that down if I wanted to. The next thing here as well, so let's just go back to here. And then you can see that it did other things. So there's a number of code down here, and it just keeps going. And you can just see everything that it's doing there. You can go back and ask it additional prompts, so on and so forth. But right now, I just kind of give it a look through. Does it look half sane? And if it does, it's just keep. And then that will implement all those changes. So the next thing is, okay, now we need to see, like, it did all this code, but now we have to like build the configurator. Well, no, you don't, because Betaflight has some amazing things in its pull request architecture as well, where it builds it for you. It's really great. And that's going to lead us right to our next amazing thing, is the GitHub Desktop. The GitHub Desktop is a user interface software that helps you navigate working with GitHub with your repository, which is basically a copy of the Betaflight or open source code or configurator code or INAV code or whatever. You basically make a fork, which is like a copy into your account. This software gives you a graphical user interface to interact with that, to clone it down to your PC, which basically makes a copy on your local PC. When the file changes happen on your local PC, it recognizes line by line what has changed, so you can see that. It allows you to quickly just click a button and it pushes it back up to your repository. And then if you go on your online account, you can just click another button to quickly and easily make a draft pull request into Betaflight. So let me show you a little bit about that. And this is GitHub Desktop. So I already have it set up where I have my own GitHub account. I have a fork of the Betaflight configurator, so it connects the Betaflight project to my account, like a copy of the code in my account. And then I have that copy over here cloned down to my PC, which basically just makes a copy down. I'm using some of these words because a fork is a word you'll see out there on GitHub, which is essentially a copy from one account to another account. And then a clone is going from your online account down to your PC, wherever you want to put it. So I already have those pieces set up. Now with that as well, I opened it in Visual Studio Code. I just made those changes, and you can actually see in here when the changes were made, and I made a special branch for this. And I'm not going into the details of how this all works. I can make follow-up videos of that if people are interested on how to do that, or you could just search online how to use GitHub Desktop, and I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there for the little ins and outs of it. So from here, I need to go ahead and push or publish that branch. That is going to push it up to my GitHub account. So the next thing I need to do is these changes, I actually have to commit to the branch. So I'm going to just say adding adjustment and T tabs. That's fine enough. You can put a little description there. And then that will push them in to the current. So these are all the different changes these are the commits and basically changes in code that people are submitting to Betaflight and they've accepted. I have another one here. I'm going to go ahead and publish that up to my GitHub account. So it's going to push it from my PC up to my GitHub account. Then I can go into here and hit view branch on GitHub. My GitHub account will then notice that, hey, you've made some changes here, and you can see right there it says compare and pull request. So I can just go ahead and hit that button. In this spot here, I can give it a little bit of a description. I'll skip that for now. You can use something to do that description later. And a really important thing you're going to want to do here is when you submit this, if you're just learning or you're just kind of getting into it for the first time, make sure you're submitting this and you hit this drop down, create a draft pull request, right? So we're going to go ahead and just hit draft pull request, and then that will push it to Betaflight. And you can see now I'm flipped over. I'm actually under the Betaflight configurator here, and it's looking at this pull request. And what the amazing thing is it's going to do here is it's going to look at it, and there's this thing called CodeRabbit. So this leans us right into the third major thing is now Betaflight specifically, and I don't know if other projects yet have this, but Betaflight, I'm sure other open source projects, I'm not sure about iNav or FPV open source projects, but they have this thing called CodeRabbitAi. And it's an AI basically bot that can help review your code, make suggestions for your code to be better, troubleshoot your code for issues it might have. You can ask it if it says, hey, you need to fix this. You can ask it for a patch, how to, like, hey, great suggestion or change you want me to do. How do I do that? And you can either do that by going back to the Visual Desktop Studio, copy the link for its suggestion, and then paste it and say, how do I implement the change suggested at this link? Or I can just ask the CodeRabbit. And how you ask CodeRabbit things is you can just go at CodeRabbitAi and then comma and then type whatever you want. And that's how you kind of prompt the AI. And then it will, go back and forth with you. The other thing it's working on here is it's going to shortly do a build of the code I've changed. So it's going to make a build of the configurator that I will be able to click on, share. Others will be able to use as well. Anybody, this is now online in the Betaflight project, and I will be able to access that, use with any changes I make in the firmware code, and just test and see how my code. I don't have to build the configurator. I don't have to build Betaflight. It's very simple. And this is also going to work with the Black Box Explorer, anything Betaflight related. They have, building engines built kind of into the PR process. And some of these things might take some time, like it's going through its checks here to build this, but you can do things like, hey, I didn't write a description for this. So you can do things like at CodeRabbitAi, can you write a description for this PR and a summary of what it does? And then it will go ahead and write that description for you, and it will actually put it up here in the top. So there's a lot you can have the CodeRabbit do. It's really great. And when you do things like that, you can actually see, like down here, see the little eyes? That means it's recognized that it saw your request. Sometimes CodeRabbit, sometimes you have to prompt it. It's the smartest dumb CodeRabbit sometimes. Or it will do a review, or you'll change based on its information, and it will be it won't see it after you, so you have to prompt it to re-review, things of that nature. Okay, so now that it's done, you can see what it will offer up here is just these links. You can download an APK file for an Android phone, or if you're at your computer, you can just go ahead and click on that link. And then from there, you can see here is our configurator. I will go ahead and hit USB. I have my flight controller connected. And then after I'm connected, I'll go into my adjustments tab, and then you can see, let me get out of the way, our new columns. So they're not perfect, right? There's some adjustments we need to make here for the order, which I noted before. We can just move those lines of code down to below this. The wrapping of the text here needs some edits, but you can see it's all there. So not too bad. It builds, it functions. We didn't have to touch any code. It read the variable here as well, so that's great. I can actually set this, so I can set this to 50 and go down here and hit save. And then if I go into the CLI and then type in 80J range, you'll be able to see it's set at 250. So it's functioning properly. It's just the look isn't great. So from there, we would just go back into Visual Studio Code, and you can either prompt it to make some adjustments to it, or go look around and start to learn like how the functions of this are actually working. You can easily see through your GitHub desktop app of what files are edited and where the code is specifically edited. You can use these line rows here. And for example, like we talked about how we wanted those 2 columns to be afterwards. So there's some deductive reasoning you have to have here. Like if I wanted those 2 columns to be after this, I could just manually go into the code and just move these 2 rows down below this, or vice versa, move this row up above that. In that code, I'm looking in this file at lines 13 and 14 and go make that change, hit save. And then obviously any save changes you'll have, you will see those show up here for then making a new commit. And then you can use this to do a squash and other things to combine all those commits into one to re-push it back up. And then as soon as you re-push this back up to here, it will change in your GitHub pull request. It will rebuild it, and then it will give you a new link. You can ask the CodeRabbit to re-review your change, things of that nature. Ultimately, when you are done and you feel like, hey, I've vetted this through, it's working, I've tested it, I've done a number of iterations, the CodeRabbit has reviewed it, I feel like it's good, you can hit ready for review right here at the bottom of the pull request thing. CodeRabbit will do a more in-depth review at that point, so you can ask it to review right now, which I would recommend doing it. Keeping things in draft form is really good on a project, because that indicates to the devs, the maintainers, that, hey, this is still a work in progress. So I would get through all that. They won't pay much attention to it until it's out of draft form. But when you're like, hey, I've looked at this, the CodeRabbit's looked at it, I vetted it with that thing, and I think this is really good. It really works. I've tested a bunch of things. Hit ready for review, and then you can prompt one of the maintainers to take a look at the code. Once they do their reviews, it can get put into the Betaflight project. So hopefully that was helpful in showing how things have changed a lot. We didn't go out to any external ChatGPT. We're not doing copy and paste. All this AI stuff is integrated into the firmware now. It can make your edits directly. You can prompt it back and forth. You can use it to troubleshoot. If the code doesn't build, you can take those links, go back into Visual, paste the links of, hey, why isn't this building correctly? You can have it essentially, I wish you might be able to, if you're smarter than me, have it actually interact with the CodeRabbit versus the AI prompting in the Visual Studio. That would be something. And then, yeah, there's just a lot of assistance out there. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them down below. Hopefully this encourages at least one person to get more involved in open source code. And this is the reason why it will be there forever, is because it's you and me. Anybody can do this. It's not going anywhere. I don't care if everybody doesn't fly FPV except for just you. You can be the guy that it's working firmware now, and you can be making it work even better if you want, or if it's good for you now, you just leave it as it is. It's not going to get discontinued. It's not going to get to a spot where it just won't be available anymore. If you would be interested in more videos in depth on some of these tools, let me know. They typically aren't super popular, so if you are interested, do let me know, and then I'll count on you to actually watch them. So I'm hesitant to go ahead and go through the depths of stuff, but let me know if you're interested in those. I'd be happy to do it. I just, want to make sure it's worth my time. Thanks, everybody. Hope this helps. See you on the next one.